onwards.
Hi, I'm Annika. I'm not just the driver, I'm the international officer at Campus Gotland.
Today we are going to do a tour of the island of Gotland. And just some practical facts as we are getting started. The island stretches for 176 kilometers north to south and is 52 kilometers wide. The traditional way for people to move around, at least for the visitors, has been biking or hiking. And there's a number of good trails available. There's also a good bus network, and often you can bring your bike on the bus, thereby extending your range a bit.
Are we there yet?
We are down at Holmhällar at the southern end of Gotland, and if this had been a couple of months ago, there would have been a lot more people here. The sea, the sand and the sun attracts a lot of visitors, and the summer tourism is of course of great importance to the island. Now, a beach, that can be many things: sand, pebbles, rocks, or if you excuse the pun here, rauks. The sea stacks, something of a symbol for the island, formed by sea erosion, wearing away the softer materials, leaving the harder.
Can you tell me what this is?
Well, these are the remains of sea lilies and various other forms of actually corals that made up this. The whole of the island is the remains of a huge coral reef some 400 million years ago. Now, fishing has historically always been important on Gotland, but most of the people lived on the inland. That's where the best farming areas are. So most of the villages had small fishing hamlets down on the coast. They would be empty at times, but then filled with life when the various fishing seasons were in action. Now, on Gotland, there is more than 92 medieval churches in the countryside, which rather leads to the question, why is there more than 92 churches in the countryside? The population was quite clearly religious, they were rich, and I think there was a certain need of showing off towards your neighbors. Our church is bigger than yours. This is Öja, and it is one of the largest in the countryside. And according to tradition, it was inaugurated in 1232. Now, the thing that usually strikes you the first time you step into a Gotland church is how little have changed over the centuries. New things may have been added, but very little has been removed. But among the most famous objects in here is, of course, the triumphant crucifix up there. One of the largest medieval works on the island. The size and the quality of this shows the immense cost that must have gone into this. There are also a number of paintings on the walls, younger by 200 years, and probably most famous of those, the rich man in the tree, being felled by death. You can bring nothing with you when you die. This is the Barrow Ship at Norrby. This is one of more than 300 of these stone boats still standing today, and all these graves were built to be seen for miles. The view is good. Out there you have the two Karl's Islands, the greater and the lesser. Now, originally there were two ships. There was a second one down there, but that was cleared away, and this one was actually quite badly damaged, but it was restored in the 1950s. All of this was the grave of one single person, and that must certainly have been an important person. And all of those of you who immediately thought Vikings, well, I'm sorry. This is more than 1500 years older than that. This dates back to the Bronze Age. 1000 BC perhaps? Now, half the island is covered in trees, but the forest can be many different things here on Gotland, like the coastal forest here at Ekstakusten, where the wind seems to have shaped the trees sideways. And the rather lean soil conditions means that many rare and unusual plants grow only here. Well, an inland forest can be a bit different. It can be open, or it can be a bit more adventurous like this. But I want you to experience it, because you have something called the right of public access, giving everyone the right to walk through almost all parts of the forests. You have the right to pick berries and mushrooms, even to camp for limited times. And the rules are quite simple. Don't disturb, don't destroy, and keep out of the military security zones. Now, one of the more unusual environments on Gotland is the managed meadow, the enge. And this is something that goes back hundreds of years, where a place has been set aside for growing cattle fodder. You take hay in the spring and summer, but you also crop the trees to take the leaves and the young branches. This tradition fell out of use perhaps 75 years ago, but has been recreated in a number of sites, mostly by volunteers. But as a student on Campus Gotland, you can also participate, because we help in cleaning one of these places in the spring, and my colleagues right now. This is the beginning of day 2, and the weather has changed somewhat. We are going north today, and it may be a bit of an experience. This is the thing about an island. You can have sunshine one day and a bit of wind the next. Let's go. So, how does people on Gotland make their living today? Well, tourism has already been mentioned. From my surroundings, forestry is also actually one of the bigger industries. But the quite obvious one is, of course, agriculture. And you don't have to travel far on the Gotland countryside before you start to realize how much of the island that actually is farmlands. And the farmers out here, they have realized they cannot compete by quantity. Instead, they go for quality. And they try to locally produce as many foodstuffs as possible. We come in peace. Take us to your leader. There's another industry that also is going strong, one of the traditional ones, and that is stone. Partly building stone, but mostly cement. The big cement factory up at Slite produces something like 7,000 tons a day, all around the year. Another employer that used to be of big importance on the island was the military. But a major cut in the armed forces in the 1990s left the island without regiments. There's a number of large buildings, both in Visby and at Fårösund, that are former regiments. But now the military is coming back, so don't be surprised if you see people in uniform. Now, fitting enough, we'll end this on the northern part of Ireland, on Fårö. This is a place where many of the old buildings and traditions have survived. And in the summer, this is filled by tourists. The rest of the year, it is what it is. Just a fantastic place, although somewhat windy. And here our journey and also our films come to an end. But we hope to see you soon here in Visby. Until then, goodbye.